Warriors Origins, written by Logan Highsmith, co-author Thaddeus Lawrenson. Warning: this story is a prequel, meaning it takes place prior to the first book. With that in mind, enjoy the story. Part 1, Unbreakable Bonds. Chapter 1. On the day of the 14th of January 2008, a very special person was born into this world. It was me, obviously, not to brag or anything. When I was a few months old, I was diagnosed with autism. My parents were very worried that I would never make any friends at all. "Logan," my mom yelled from downstairs. "What? I'm still tired. Do I have to wake up?" I yelled back downstairs. I was at least 5 or 6 years old, and we were still living in Windmill Farms on the north side of Forney. I was going to a school known as Smith Elementary. The kids there didn't like me very much though. They also had a special program for kids like me. I personally thought it was unfair, that you got mistreated just for being different. I pushed myself out and bed and hoped that something would change. "Hey Logan, you're going to a new school," my dad exclaimed. "What school?" I asked. "It's called Johnson Elementary," my mom said. Once I talked to my mom more about it, I was glad because I was still in the school zone for it, meaning I didn't have to move. The first day of going to a new school came fast. I went and sat down in my first period class, wishing kids didn't make fun of me. At the table I sat at, there were these two girls who seemed to be twin sisters. Speaking of sisters, my sister Alexis had just turned 2 a.m. few weeks earlier. "Hi," I said nervously. One of the sisters seemed to be really social because she came up to me stating, "Hi, I'm Alexandra, but you can just call me Lexi," Lexi stated. "Is that your sister?" I asked. "Oh, that's my sister Victoria," Lexi exclaimed. "I think Tori would be easier to remember. Is it okay if I call her Tori?" I exclaimed. Tori had autism just like me, so we were able to become fast friends. Another girl came from the group over on the other end of the room and sat at our table. "Hi, what's your name?" I exclaimed, still kinda nervous. "Oh me, my name is Cheyenne Wetzel," Cheyenne stated. Later that day, I was in another one of my classes and we did a partner activity. There was a boy sitting in the corner all by himself, so I went over to talk to him. "Are you okay?" I exclaimed. The boy looked up and finally noticed me. "Who are you?" the boy asked. "I'm Logan, what's your name?" I exclaimed. "Who, me? I'm Chase," Chase exclaimed. I learned that Chase also had autism just like me. It made me feel like I wasn't the only one who felt left out. When school was over, I went out to my car. "How was your day?" my mom asked. "Amazing," I exclaimed. Chapter 2. A few months later, I had made many new friends. We had our first performance of the year and I was sure I would remember my part. We all got on stage and I thought to myself, there is no way you can mess this one up. We got on stage and we were putting on a play about a farmer and a robber. I was the robber and Chase played the farmer. "I'm going to shoot you," Chase said, playing his role. I, however, forgot my part, so I decided to go with farmer. "That ain't a real gun." Cheyenne came over and slapped me right across the face. "What was that for?" I exclaimed. "You did the wrong part. The only thing I could really do was slap you," Cheyenne exclaimed. When I got home that day, I noticed all the kids hanging out outside, wishing I could be a part of a friend group like that. I decided to go introduce myself to the kids. What could go wrong, right? I knocked on the door to the house across the street of me and after about 5 minutes someone answered the door. "What do you need?" the girl who answered the door asked. I introduced myself to the neighbors, learning that the girl was named Haley and she had a younger brother named Michael. They also had neighbors that lived up the street named Joshua and Casson. One day Joshua and Casson invited me up to their house to play Fortnite. They also had these really big dogs that did not seem friendly. We went into Joshua's room and after about 30 minutes of playing several games, it was time for me to leave. I would have to go though the dogs. It's okay Logan, they won't attack, Joshua stated. With that in mind, I stepped out into the living room and the dogs charged me. I screamed as I ran for my life, hanging on to something just to get away. When I got home, I still had the shivers. I had permanent fear of big dogs after that. Part 2, A New Unbelievable Time. Chapter 3. Several years passed. I was in 2nd grade and Alexis was 4 or 5 years old now. I had made several new friends as well, like Hayden, Harley, Cora and several others. Harley was my 2nd grade crush. That was very short-lived as I discovered she didn't like me. One day at recess, I heard a strange voice, Logan. It gave me the chills, but I thought nothing of it. I mean, obviously everyone was my friend and no one intended me harm, right? I went over to the playground and swung on the swings for a bit, still unable to get the creepy voice out of my head. After a while I bumped into Hayden and Cora. Did you guys hear that strange voice? I asked. Could you describe what you heard? Hayden asked. Well, it was like this creepy voice that didn't exactly sound like they had friendly intentions, I exclaimed. You're probably just imagining things, Cora exclaimed. Later that day in math class we had a test that I hadn't studied for, so I decided to copy off of Tori's answers. We both failed the test. After class Lexi came up to me stating Tori's party is in a few days and you're invited. When I got home that day, some kid I had not yet met was hanging outside. Who is this? I asked. My name is Alec, Alec stated. Alec did karate, and drums apparently. Alec taught me and the others how to do various karate moves, such as blocking and attack. A few days later, it was time for Tori's birthday party and they had a gigantic bounce house. As I was heading towards the bounce house, Lexi screamed, "For on the other side of the yard there's a beehive in there, would not recommend doing that." I'll take care of it, I stated, as I punched the beehive and they all came after me one by one. I got away from most of them, but one of them stung me in the ear and it hurt a lot. I told you not to do it, Lexi stated. I'm sorry, I should have listened to you, I stated, still sorta crying from the bee sting. Just give me a second and I'll get something to help ease the sting, Lexi stated. Cover your ear around a beehive from now on, I thought to myself. Later during the party, we had had Chick-fil-A and Tori showed me some new things she had gotten. Oh yeah, Logan, we're moving next year by the way, Lexi stated. That was a random sad turn of events very fast. There was no way things could get sadder, right? Chapter 4. It was late afternoon. I was at home and Alexis walked up to me stating, "Hey Logan, get in this box real quick." Okay. I stated, confused, but I got in the box anyway. Suddenly Alexis closed the top on me. Gotcha. Alexis exclaimed. Hey stop, I can't breathe, let me out. I exclaimed. I wasn't going to suffocate at 8 years old from my sister's prank, was I? Let him go. My mom stated. After that Alexis let me out of the box and I was relieved to be able to breathe again. When 3rd grade year stated, I met 2 new friends, a girl named Leslie and a boy named Adam Bone. 3rd grade year was also very strange. People started acting strange around me. People like Harley, Hayden and even sometimes Cora. We also had this new kid in our class named Marcel. Now the thing about Marcel was that he had anger issues, big ones. He even broke a pencil in half once. The school had this special event, only for kids with autism, called the Special Olympics. Today was the day of that event, so we all got loaded onto the bus. I'm not complaining, I got to skip school. Okay, so you just have to run and jump over some things, Chase exclaimed. So that was what I did, well, tried to do until I hit my face on a bar. I thought you said this was easy, I exclaimed. After I tried a few more things, I eventually got first place. A few months later we had a new girl in our class named Zadie. I was talking to Zadie out at recess and we were playing a game of what's the most annoying thing. Who's your most annoying cousin? I asked. Well, I have this one cousin named Catherine. Recess was called in, cutting Zadie off mid-sentence. I'm sure she wasn't saying anything important though. Part 3, The Turning Point. Chapter 5. A while had passed by. It was now 4th grade year. I had since then made a new friend named Michael Fansler. We would always go over to his house and play video games like Boat and Go Vacation. One day his mom got a call claiming that my Aunt Susie had fallen over at her apartment and she needed help. At least she didn't spill her tea all over the place. Me and my parents went to her apartment and helped her up, and she ended up in the emergency room. She was going to be there for a while. Back at school, I had this teacher named Ms. Attaway. She would take me out of class to give me extra space to work on my work. I wasn't the only student she took though. She also took this girl named Grace with us. Grace was the same age as me. I didn't take long for me and her to become fast friends. One day on my way to another class I was talking to Grace. Grace, why are people so mean to me just because I'm different? I stated. Well, Logan, the world is never gonna change unless you step up and say no, this isn't okay, Grace exclaimed before turning to ask me something else. So, Logan, I was thinking you could come over to my house this summer. Grace exclaimed. I mean, I would have to ask my parents and they don't really know you that well, I exclaimed. The time never came when I could properly ask my parents and summer break came. I never heard from Grace again after that. Just shows you not to make a promise you can't keep. Chapter 6. It was 5th grade year. Me and Michael were sitting next to each other in science class. Class, we have a new student, please try to make her feel welcome, the teacher exclaimed. The girl sat down at our table, clearly nervous. What's your name? I asked. I'm Hala. Nice to meet you, Hala exclaimed. Is this supposed to be you flirting? Michael exclaimed. Shut up, I'm allowed to talk to a girl without it being flirting. I exclaimed. Can you guys stop fighting? Hala exclaimed. If you had to choose a side, Logan, my side or her side? Michael exclaimed. I wondered, how come he had never done this with any other girl I was friends with? Did he like her in secret? I'm not choosing sides, I exclaimed. Michael basically hated Hala after that, claiming I was always spending too much time with her and not spending any time with him anymore. One day Hala asked me to call her after school and I called the number she gave me. After like 5 minutes someone answered the phone stating word for word, there is no one named Hala hereby, and hung up. I had no clue who it was. All I know is that it sounded like an older boy in his teenage years. Part 4. The finale. Chapter 7. Because Forney was getting so large they had to make the 5th and 6th grades go to a separate school called Rear Intermediate School, and it wasn't located far from Johnson. They also said that in order Story stay in that school zone that we would have to move by the end of the year. So you mean we have to move? I asked my mom. Yeah, I found this house in this neighborhood called Grayhawk. It seems like a really nice place, my mom stated. Back at school, there was this kid bullying her named Roman. Somehow Roman had several friends even though he was a jerk. I also met these two kids named Aiden and Aubrey. Aubrey was always singing, and I mean always singing. One day in English class, the teacher was teaching and out of the blue Roman stated, "Did you guys hear that The Rock said Hulla smelled like pee?" "Shut up," me and Hulla both yelled at Roman. Michael Fansler had also been homeschooled and would probably not come back for a while. In my STEM class I also met this kid named Steven when he was being threatened by bullies, and what was his way of saying thank you back? Well, one day I went to the restroom and I guess I was taking too long, so they sent Steven to go and check on me. As I walked out of the bathroom I turned the corner and Steven was right there. It scared me the living crap out of me so bad that I screamed. Also some kid challenged me to a race with these things called Vex robots in our STEM class. I won obviously. A few weeks later, I had my birthday party and several of my friends came, except Aubrey. She can't come for who knows what reason. I got this strange necklace from Hulla that was in the shape of a heart. It spelled out best friends and was in two separate pieces that each of us wore. There was also someone else there, an older teenage boy who kept giving me strange, almost annoyed looks the entire time, so after a while I just decided to go and introduce myself. "Hi, I'm Logan," I stated. The boy hesitated for a second but then finally spoke up. "I'm Ryan, Hulla's brother by the way," Ryan stated. I'm guessing he was the boy that answered the phone that one time. For some reason, several nights in a row I had not been able to sleep. Any night I went to take a shower and things started to feel strange. "What the heck," I said to myself. Shortly after I fell onto the floor and passed out. Chapter 8. I didn't know what was happening. Next thing I knew I was standing in the middle of black nothingness. Was I dead? What was going on? For a split second, something came into view. I was inside an ambulance. Was I being taken to a hospital? Next thing I knew my eyes shot open and I was in a hospital bed. "Oh my God, you're alive," my dad said. "We thought you were dead," my mom stated. "What happened?" I asked. "We found you passed out in the shower, fully standing up," my mom stated. "You had a terrible seizure," my dad said. "We all went home for the night and I went to sleep. Something still felt strange. I felt as though something had happened to me during that seizure, a change in my personality or something like that. I no longer saw the world through innocent eyes." A few months later we moved to Grayhawk, and after setting up my bedroom, we decided to go out to eat at Olive Garden. While we were out eating, my granny got a call to which she answered it and burst into tears. "What happened?" Alexis asked. "Aunt Susie, she's dead," my granny stated. Sitting in my room that night I realized something. When I had that seizure I had almost lost a very big battle, the battle with life. My Aunt Susie had lost that battle, and it was in that moment that I realized something. Life had to be fought for,